there was this thing that happened a few weeks ago with Nigel Farage, who was the guy who used to be a member of the European Parliament. He's a British. He had his account closed down. He was unbanked. He went to several other banks. You try to begin a relationship so he could keep his money, in a bank. Okay, get loans and do things, make transactions. And he wasn't able to. Now, when we did the story about how he was unbanked, we got some comments and people were saying, oh, Nigel Farage, he's lying. He fell beneath the, the allowable amount of money in a certain account. Now, I don't know how they do it in Great Britain, but sometimes in America, if you do fall below that, you'll get fees or you'll just get automatically shunted into the account that is appropriate for, but maybe they don't do it that way in Britain. Anyway, some people, not a lot, but some people doubted what Farage was saying. Now, if you recall, Nigel Farage is the man behind Brexit. He is a big fan of, so he's not the most popular guy among the banks, especially because a lot of the banking institutions, Brexit being Great Britain opting out of the European Union. Remember, a few years ago, that was all the rage, okay? And they managed to do it. So it's looking more and more like Farage, the man who spearheaded the whole thing, is being targeted for that and for his political ideology because he's conservative, okay? He looks a lot like an American conservative, okay? American conservative are two different things, but Farage looks a lot like an American conservative. So anyway, these people were like, hey, he's lying, okay? He's boosting this up into something it's not. Well, guess what? Couttes, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, that's the bank. They debanked Nigel Farage because of his conservative viewpoints. And that's according to the bank. All right. So this happened. And now the bank is doing the mea culpa. They're admitting it. Why is this important? Because Nigel Farage has a platform. He made noise about this and he got noticed. Now, the Soldiers of Finance platform is nothing compared to Nigel Farage. His name is known. And to help the Soldiers of Finance channel, just in case I get debanked, go ahead and hit that thumbs up channel. Help this platform grow a little bit, just in case I need the exposure. So he had a platform, but this is the environment we're heading into, where if your political leanings are not, state approved, you could be looking at interference with your money, especially if we establish a CDC, which will happen. Look at what they did in Canada with the truckers. Cut them off of their bank accounts arbitrarily, okay, because they didn't like what they had to say, all right? Nigel Farage had his bank account shut down with the high net worth bank after officials decided the former conservative politician's views did not align with the bank's views. It has emerged. Okay, so what do we have here? Thank you so much, Jackass Whiskey and Pinto Beans, for the $5. What I've never understood is the race for money. It must be stupid. I live a simple life. Should I flaunt my wealth? I feel guilty when I spend. I feel guilty when I spend. I was having lunch with a friend today, and I was telling her about the car I drive. It's a Volvo wagon. My wife and I, our cars are long since paid off, and we just keep them maintained because last thing in the world I want to do is purchase another car. I'm at the point in life where I don't want to be I don't need the Learjet. Okay, I don't need to flaunt and think. My version of wealth is being able to help my family prosper, give them, some ideas around financial security, being in an environment where I can grow my fruit trees and go on hikes. And so I kind of agree with you on that, Jackass Whiskey and Pinto Beans. All right, so the Brexit party leader went public last month with the difficulties he was having in opening a UK bank account after an institution he had been banking with for almost a decade inexplicably closed his accounts, and several other banks refused his applications to open a new one. Couttes briefed the BBC and the Financial Times following the public accusation by Farage that the decision to close his accounts had been politically motivated. They insisted that Mr. Farage below the financial threshold required to be a customer of the private bank. And that's another thing. They divulged some of his personal financial situation. Okay, they shouldn't have done that. And that move did lead to criticism of Couttes for revealing personal financial information about one of its former clients and raised ethical questions about the institution's conduct. So Farage, he of late came out and issued this, it'll come up in a minute, issued this tweet. I now have evidence Couttes lied to me. In an explosive 40-page memo, Brexit is mentioned 86 times, 4 times, and PEP was a person of political influence. So that's not exactly the acronym. 10 times. Support for Trump plus views on immigration, net zero, and the vaccine are listed as reasons. Brexit. They say my account is commercially viable. So they're saying he's fine in terms of, economic viability with us. That's fine. We have an issue with his views. New evidence of Farage now contradicts the initial response provided by the bank. In a 40-page dossier, Mr. Farage acquired via a subject access request. So in the U.S., that would be a Freedom of Information Act. Couttes made it clear that his conservative views of the bank, citing Brexit, no fewer than 86 times, and his support of Donald Trump, who is mentioned 30 times. The minutes of a meeting of Couttes' Wealth Reputational Risk Committee held on November 17th last year stated that Mr. Farage is, quote, seen as xenophobic and racist. He is considered to be a disingenuous grifter. Being associated with Nigel Farage presents a material and ongoing reputational risk to the bank. So that's the bank's internal memo that they were forced to give Farage. So for all of the people who said, no, Farage is lying, it's not what it seems like. No, it was. So says the bank. And Maria, is a bank called Couttes Bank. It's indigenous to the UK. Maria, where are you located? Which country are you located in? This bank is in the UK. I haven't heard of Couttes Bank here. I don't think they have any presence in America. But don't put it past an American bank to do something like that. Again, especially once we get that CBDC up and running. The bank does not state who sees Mr. Farage's fashion or why this individual or social group holds weight in a decision on whether or not to provide a British citizen with a UK bank account. It should be noted that Mr. Farage has won elections in Britain as the leader of a political party, namely the European Parliament elections with the Brexit party in 2017, and wields considerable public support. Executives at the bank agreed that Farage, because of his political views, should be debanked. Writing for the Telegraph, Farage called the Stasi-style surveillance. Stasi, you guys are a smart audience. Stasi being the East German police, secret police, secret police. Monthly press checks were made on me. My social media accounts were monitored. Anything considered problematic was recorded. I was being watched. This report is proof that any Couttes customer who holds even vaguely conservative views should be treated with disdain. The most extraordinary comments of all are the areas of the report talking about me not not aligning with their views and suggesting I must be barred because I do not support the diversity policies and purpose of, as though Britain is a political regime and I am a dissident. And look, that's a very real risk that we're falling into if we have certain views. And that's why on this channel, I'm very open to people. Look, you don't have to believe what I do, okay? Participate in the comments. I'm sure a lot of people can attest that that's exactly what we do here. And we don't have to agree, okay? We did the Robert F. Kennedy testimony. We did the opening statement he made before the House Committee on Government Weaponization. We did that package. But look, guys, if these banks are taking it upon themselves to action where they say, oh, we don't like what you said, we're going to debank you. Think about that. If you don't have a banking relationship, that pretty much America, and I'm sure in the UK and elsewhere. All right. How are you going to transact your business? You need a loan, all right, to buy a property, okay, a car. You need credit. So the banks, while if you've watched the channel for any length of time, you know that the banks are not the place to keep all of your money. They have a purpose, and that purpose predominantly is transactional because you have to make these transactions to go through life. That is emblematic of the attack that we are seeing. We're seeing the up tempo in the attack on certain ideologies. The vector they're using is economics.